Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Boro's channel. And I have a special guest, the most requested guest, the man all the way up from Montreal. How are you, man? What's up, Fat? You go, Thor.
Viva la Fonse. Todo se dos. It's pretty good.
Viva la France.
Getting cold. And Thierry Henry lives about, I think he lives about an hour away from my house, so it's not too
Yes.
bad.
Is he
And
coaching Montreal?
he's the coach of Montreal Impact, so he's the manager. And then
Oh,
we
I
also have
thought he's like
Boyan.
managing New York or something. Now he's managing Montreal, right? MLS,
Yeah,
right?
and he's doing really well in the MLS. I think
Really?
his team is in the playoffs or something. So
Uh-huh.
they have Boyan Kirkic. They have remember Wijnaldum? He used to play for Tottenham. He's there.
Which Ronaldo is this? Uh,
The Tottenham Spurs Wijnaldum CDM, the fighter.
Dembele, Wanyama, you mean?
Wanyama, my bad. Sorry.
Oh yeah, yeah, Wanyama, yeah. That guy was a beast, man.
Because
He's in
yeah, that guy was
MLS.
a beast. He's in the MLS. He's playing for Montreal Impact. He lives right here. He lives about like 10 minutes away from my house.
That's amazing. Have you
It's a
seen him
beautiful house.
play?
No, because I think the league started somewhere in January, but then because of
Oh,
COVID,
COVID.
there were
Mm.
the full stop. Yeah, sad to
But it's
say. But
amazing, man. You're living the life.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
you're watching. There's other teams as
I'm
well.
just
Like, hockey's very big in Montreal, right? Or is that
yeah.
hockey's very big?
I
Yeah,
don't know any, bro. We only worship one sport, and that's
yeah.
football.
Of course, of course, of course. You're getting to see your main man Henri, which is a stark reflection of what is happening right now. What's happening with your man right now? The new number 14, the man that led Arsenal, broke my heart to win the FA Cup, Mr. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. What's happened, man? What's happening with him this season?
So every season, I mean, if you see him, he scores about 30 goals, 25, 30 goals. It's normal for him. But for those 30 goals, you'll see him every other match. He'll miss some really, really, really simple chances, right? And that's normal. All strikers have bad days. But for every bad chance he misses, he scores two, three goals. So no one ever complained. This now, the transition we're in, like the last 4 or 5 games, he doesn't make runs. He doesn't try to go past players. He's not cutting in. He's not taking shots from outside the box. These are his basic nature. I mean, why is he not doing them? The only reason I can find is that he doesn't want to.
So you think he's down tooling? Is that man, or he's not in sync with the manager,
That's
or
what I think. I feel like he's not playing for the manager and the players. He's not making those runs that he does, right? You know, like he's always standing near the last line of defense, and then he's just looking for a chance to make that run. He's not making those runs. He's not even taking the ball outside the box and trying to curl them in, which he does on a regular basis. I'm really surprised. Like whenever your team plays bad, you expect your best players to come out and pull your team out, right? That's what made Gerard Gerard. That's what made players like Drogba and Lampard themselves, Cristiano Ronaldo. But Aubameyang is just not showing that for me.
like Aubameyang is not. It's not much of a debate to say he was probably the best player in the Premier League last season. I mean, I would probably think he was. Maybe De Bruyne was slightly better, debatable, but he was very good. And I feel like this season he's not playing well in terms of he's lost confidence. I feel like. Do you think? Have you seen like beginning of the season he seemed fine. Like maybe he wasn't scoring, but he seen his movement was good. But lately, I feel like he's not even like if there's an opportunity for a shot, he's not taking it. If there's an
Exactly.
opportunity to make a run, he's not making it. Do you think his confidence is affected? Because it could be a confidence thing. I don't think he's a kind of guy to down tools. You know what I mean? Like, why would he down? He just got his new contract. He's happy. He's in London. Why would? What reason does he
No,
have to down tool?
I'm not saying he's doubting on purpose though. It's sometimes it's just that you don't want to push. You don't feel like pushing the extra mile. Like for example, like let's talk about another Arsenal player, a legend, Theo fucking uh, Theo
Yo,
Walcott, right?
Theo Walcott.
Okay, now this guy was probably the most garbage right wing player to play for Arsenal for a long time, right? But
I wouldn't
there
call
were
him
two
garbage.
seasons when he scored. It was pretty bad.
He
Like
was, he
let's be
was a
honest, he
squad player,
doesn't
man.
know.
He was a decent squad player. Like if
He
it's someone who
he
can
was
come
a
off the bench.
he was a squad player who was playing the first team for 7 years. So I mean, come on,
Yeah,
he wasn't scoring goals. Only 2 seasons he scored over 10 goals. Those 2 seasons were the seasons when his contract was in its last year. So I'm not saying that it's the same case, But at Arsenal, there is a problem. The players are not motivated. And it's not just the manager. It's like it's been there for the last 10, 12 years. The players lose their focus. Now, these are professional footballers who are getting paid millions of dollars. The manager should not have to motivate them to play better. They should be motivated by themselves. Why aren't they motivated? That's the question. I see the same fault in Manchester United. You can change the manager, you can bring in new tactics, it won't work.
I've seen, well, that's with every team. I would say it's in Chelsea as well. It happened many times where it's not down tooling. You're right. It's not necessarily down tooling, but they're not putting the extra mile in for the manager. But that's a bit like when things start going wrong. Everything was going right with Arteta, like from in the end of last season. I mean, everyone was saying, including Sabat,
Wow.
he was saying like he's better than Ole, he's better than Lampard. He has that about him, like where like Mourinho, Simeone, he knows how to organize the team, and he's showing very good signs early on. What happened like after that golden phase, after winning the FA Cup, winning the Community Shield, then suddenly it was like the honeymoon period is over and everything started coming back to reality. What went? How did it? What went wrong? Like, what is the main reason you feel like for the reason?
So
Yeah,
this is nothing new, right? Like when Unai Emery came in, he had a 22, 23 games unbeaten run. We were beating. I think we lost to Liverpool, but we were beating almost every other team. We had a lot of draws for sure, but there were unlucky draws. Like we could have won, but we just barely just drew the game. But it was like a very good run, and then after that, it was like a complete disaster. We were in 17th place. What's happening? Nobody knows. No one wants to play for Unai Emery. The Facebook is full of memes saying "Good evening." Like it's
I
crazy.
miss those memes. No, but I really like
And now,
Emery. He was a nice guy, man. Like, I feel like he was misunderstood because he couldn't speak English, but his philosophy
yeah,
wasn't that bad. Like he tried to play. His defense wasn't the best. I agree with that. But
yeah.
is that down to personnel or is that down to uh, the manager? I feel like right. That brings me on to the next question. Actually, like, what do you think of Arsenal's style of play? Do you think it's like? Are you surprised because you've grown up watching Arsene Wenger? You've grown up watching basically swashbuckling football. Even Chelsea or Man United didn't play the way Arsenal did. They Chelsea, Man United attacked, but it was not like not with the same free flowing style, the freedom that Arsene Wenger gave players. It must be a massive culture change. And how
Well,
yeah, what do you think about the culture change? Do you think? Yeah, what do you think?
I've been watching Arsenal since like 2002, right? And then back then we were the Invincibles. So back then we had one strategy, which is the 1-2s. Now Barcelona used to play at a 1-2-3 level, which is triangular passing, but we used to have 1 and 2 passing. So whenever we were under pressure, every single player knew how to do quick 1-2s to get out of pressure. That was the beauty of Arsenal, and that's something we all loved. Then came the greatest years of our lives from 2008 all the way to 2015 when we didn't win anything.
No, but
We
you
were
guys
getting trashed by
for a while it was the
well,
same.
it was a long time. We a decade of no trophies, and we were getting trashed by teams like Southampton, Blackburn. Forget about Bayern Munich and stuff. We were getting destroyed by Blackburn 5-1, Tottenham 5-1. It was crazy. So we lost our culture, our sort of philosophy, our grit during those period as it is. So I don't really, as an Arsenal fan, and I feel like I speak for the majority here when we say that we don't care about the style of football. We want to win. We want to be at the top.
Like
Because
but I feel like with a lot of fans, like it was the thing for Arsenal. Like Abrar, for example, he loved the style of play. Like that was the Arsene Wenger brought that aura, that arrogance, I guess you could say, and that's gone. Like that's gone. Like you can't like with Arsenal, you would expect okay, let like I think a lot subconsciously with Arteta, people were expecting if Arsenal have to play, they can play because it's Arsenal. Because let them fix the defense and they can switch on like that. But what we've seen that is it can't switch on. Like his philosophy is different, and now you have to work within your means. What do you think? The main problem is it personnel? Is it is it that the is he trying to change the culture too quickly? What do you think the main problem is in terms of result, or is it just a part of the process?
see, like I think footballing culture is not that like fixed and written in stone, right? Like you look at teams like even Chelsea, for example, who go through a lot of managers, or Liverpool before Klopp, who went through a lot of managers. The style of play can change from like manager to manager. That's okay. If you're a good player, if you're playing at the top level, you should be able to adjust based on what your manager wants, right? I don't think the style of play, but the thing is, when Arteta first came in, I don't know if you remember those games. we would see the pressing from the top. Like you'd see Aubameyang and Nketiah like going at defenders from the top, like go charging down the goalkeepers, and we scored a lot of goals from opposition mistakes. That is something I've never seen Arsenal do under Unai Emery or Wenger. Like we would never charge at the goalkeeper like madmen, but that's something Arteta brought in. The last couple of months, for some reason, it's completely gone. We go on the back foot. We keep dropping back all the way until our D box. By the time we have the ball, we're so slow to carry the ball to the opposition side that the defense is already full. They're already ready for us, and it's hurting us really bad. I think that's the main reason why our results are so bad is because we're not pressing high up the field. We're not getting the ball in the opposition D box.
Like the main from in what I read online, they felt like is a not it's a personnel issue. They, like from what I read, Arsenal fans feel like it's an issue of not having a creative midfielder. Do you think it's as simple as that? You're saying it's not just that; it's the pressing, or do you think the pressing is more important? It's
I
more.
think the creative midfielder. I think a creative midfielder issue is there. Like we don't have someone who's going to come up with magic out of nowhere. Like, like having someone like Kai in your team, or like Cazorla or Ozil, or you talk about like those Thiago Alcantara, those kind of players, or De Bruyne who can find the pass like no one else can see them. But that is not all in football, right? Like usually in football, how many goals do you see that come from like a cam through balling a striker? I mean, it happens, but in general, it's like the right wing, left wingers crossing the ball in or winning the ball from the defender, pushing the ball quickly into the opposition D box. I feel like we're not doing that at all. But something I loved about Arteta when he started was that he put Lacazette on the bench. He put Nico Pepe on the bench. He started playing Bakayo Saka. Started playing Nketiah and Willock. That was a sign to like the what do you call it? The veterans that if you're not performing, I will pull on the youngsters.
Yeah.
Now it's like it's gone. And I feel like Arteta should go back to that. Like, okay, if you're not performing, get out of my team. I'll bring in someone else to replace you. That's fine. I feel like that's something we have to do now. Our players are just not professional.
Like I've been confused by the recruitment because Arteta has gotten a lot of players who have hardly played, like Cedric Suarez, Pablo Mari. I know Saliba had an issue in his personal life, but he hasn't started yet. Willian has been starting. He's been a free agent, but he's someone he's a free agent. So you as a squad player, why wouldn't you have him? I understand that aspect. I don't like him.
Chelsea legend. Chelsea legend.
No, no,
Lion.
no, no, don't go there. He probably is a
Don't lie.
some sort
Stop
of
doing
a fashion,
lying.
but I'm not gonna. He was as you can see, this guy's inconsistency drove us absolutely nuts. But yeah, I understand the Villian thing. I understand to an extent David Luiz, but too many veteran players have been signed. I feel like without an eye for the future. Arsenal have a very promising young team. I feel like why doesn't he just play the youngsters? Like give the youngsters.
Well, that's my thing. Like if you're losing, I'd rather watch a bunch of 19-year-olds lose than our full team getting beaten by like who did we lose last week? It was Spurs, right?
No,
Um,
it was, Wolverhampton Wolves.
Wolverhampton, right? The team that we beat like about a few months ago beat us now. I mean, that happens, sure. But I'd rather see our youngsters try and lose than our players who are our senior players getting paid 300, 400,000 pounds, not even like go in for a stroll on the field. Like, that is just disgusting for me. But to say something else is like the Arsenal's fault is not actually the team, the manager. We all know where the problem is. It's the board. I mean, Kroenke is just, he's the when children go to sleep, they see the boogeyman in their nightmares. When I go to sleep, I see Kroenke's face, man. Like
Oh man,
this guy has ruined a majority portion of my life because of his ownership of Arsenal.
yeah. Like honestly, like Arsenal fans were promised from the move from Emirates to the Emirates, sorry, from Highbury, that the move was being made so that they can attract bigger players, long term, better players, more
Mhm,
stadium, great part of London.
mhm.
But it's not. It's been a lie, all right. Like I don't know. Like it hasn't happened so far. It has happened. It happens only, let's say, when the fans get very impatient. That's when they will
Ex-
like, okay, let's get one or two players to keep them happy, and then it goes back to the same thing of we'll just
Exactly.
try and work our way with squad players, with your Mustafis and all these other types of players. So it's a big imbalance. I feel like with Aubameyang, Laka, they were world class for a while. Aubameyang still could be just going through a bad phase, probably, but in beneath that, there's a lot of like I feel like squad players, Deadwood, who can do a job, but like you need more. You know what I mean? You need more.
Yeah.
And even from back in Wenger's days, I feel like Arsenal are always the nearly team in terms of post. I'm talking about after the Emirates, and by that I mean
Yeah,
how the great team they had with Fabregas, Rosicky, Hilep, and Percy, Adebayor. They were close to winning the league. They needed a goalkeeper, a CB, and a CDM, and they didn't get them. And then slowly, all of those players left.
yeah,
And again, in 2014, was it they could get Suarez, but they didn't, and a defender they didn't. And it's like always these, always so close to being a champion team, but not quite there. And that, and then the luck ran out. Basically, every now you see how competitive the Premier League is. Every team is
exactly.
financially powerful. They're well run. They will compete, even if they don't have the big budget like City or Chelsea. They have a good enough budget to make a competitive team that will not give away easy 3 points. Wolves,
Yeah, at this
Leicester,
point, every team, if you're going to be in the top four, you need to have at least one or two world class players, and need to have a few really good players to like arrange them around. Right?
yeah,
Every team has that. You look at Liverpool, that it's uncomparable. Look at Man City; they have De Bruyne, world class. Aguero, sure, he's injured, he's old, but he's still there.
yeah.
You look at Chelsea, so many. You've got Manchester United; they still have Bruno Fernandes, Pogba, but they still have some good players around. Tottenham has Harry Kane and Son. Son is an extraordinary player, right?
Yeah.
But at Arsenal, we have Aubameyang, who's barely world class because of his goal scoring ability. And you take that out, it's just the.
No, but
But
yeah, but that's a lot of players. Like you take away goals from a Ronaldo's game, he's probably not as good.
even if Ronaldo doesn't score, he'll be there to help his team. You know, he's running, he's making those runs, he's passing the ball, he's trying to get there. Aubameyang in certain games, he just goes to sleep. Like he just disappears. Like I get it, it happens to other players. I don't blame Aubameyang. I blame the players like Xhaka, for example, right? Sometimes I see him, he takes the ball from the defenders and then passes it back to the goalkeeper. Bro, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Literally, there's empty field space on the right and left, and you're passing back to the goalkeeper. I look at players like we had the goalkeeper. We sold to Aston Villa, right?
Mm.
Martinez. He was extraordinary because he was good on the ball with his feet. He could throw long balls across the field, and he was good at his hands. Leno is good, but then I think losing him was a big loss for us. We sold him for 15 million, and we didn't even buy order. We got Thomas Partey because that was compulsory. We just made one good transfer. Like, are you serious? We just needed one scam to go ahead and compete for the top four. Why didn't we just go for it? As you said, it's so frustrating year after year. It's the same case. Oh, David Villa wants to join Arsenal, and Arsene Wenger comes out and says, "Hey, 200 players call me every day. Am I going to sign every one of them? Are you serious?" Luis Suarez wants to join Arsenal, so Arsene Wenger bids 40 million and £1. Oh wow!
And
um,
this guy's the best nearly 11 I've ever seen. There's Drogba, there's Zlatan, there's Messi, there's Ronaldo. Who is in there? He This guy almost signed so many players.
everybody, everybody's in that list. Messi, you talk about like Ronaldinho, everybody would be
You
on
guys
that
had a chance to
navy
sign
list.
Benzema as well, right? There was a time where you guys were heavily linked with Benzema. I remember, and that just didn't go
Name one player we weren't heavily linked with.
through. True, true. Yeah, true. What about Mesut Ozil, man? What do you think about this situation with Ozil? Like, I feel like because Arsenal are not creating chances, the stance that now this could be the Arteta is not to blame. This could be a political situation. Most likely it is. He said something about China, I believe, and then obviously the Kroenkes, the Arsenal board, they heard, and they may probably made a decision to say, you know what, we can't have a player with such opinions play for us, so we'll bench him. But Arteta in his press conference said it's a footballing decision. I don't know why he said that. Now it makes him look very bad. Puts all the pressure on him. Every time Arsenal have a match like this at home, when they're not creating a lot of chances, it puts a lot of pressure.
Exactly.
What do you think of those?
But the Ozil situation is it's different, right? Because we don't know what to say because there's propaganda here, there's some rumors, but we don't know what the facts are. Yes, he said something about China, uh, and then there was a bit of backlash from there. We know that Kroenke's side businesses, they have a lot of trade with China itself.
Right.
So China, I think, banned transmission of one game against Man City. They stopped.
Yeah.
They didn't show the game in China, and they also forced Adidas to close some of their stores in Beijing. As a result, like 3 months later, Adidas pulls out their contract from Ozil. So you got to wonder if there's a connection there, right?
Yeah,
And then
absolutely.
this
These things
happens.
are, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so Arteta isn't playing Ozil. I get it. Basically, I'm not a big Ozil fan. I've never actually been I think we should never have signed him. Instead, we should have gone for Fabregas because he was available a year later. But instead, we went for Ozil. But overall, yes, he's a good player and he should be on the team. But he's not. I don't see him as like, even if he was on the team, I don't think we'd be any better. To be honest, that's my opinion.
You honestly think so?
I don't see how he'd be better. Like he had his chance for 6 years. He didn't do anything. Now all of a sudden the team is playing bad. He would make a difference. He never tracks back. He never tries hard. I have seen him like he's staring at the opposition players and the ball just passes under his foot. Like I've seen that happen 4 or 5 times. A world class player? No, I'm sorry. I never saw Ozil as that good, to be honest.
I think what fans are frustrated with is the lack of creativity, and I understand the off the ball impact. Mesut Ozil is completely anonymous off the ball. But I feel like when even at Arsenal, you say that he hasn't done anything for 6 years, but he had those stats where after De Bruyne or joined with De Bruyne, he's the guy who created the most chances. He's the guy who made the most key passes when he was in the team. Uh, like let's say prior to last season, was the beginning of his decline from the team. So I feel like his understanding of where the pass is and of where runners are is so important because I've seen Arsenal try Willian, Willock, a lot of players in Cam, Sabeos. They're not cams. That's the problem. They're not cams, and I feel like if you're playing the formation that Arteta is playing, often it's a 3-4-2-1, or last game was a 4-4-1-1. That one, or in that 2-3-4-2-1, the two, you need Ozil. I feel like I just think that because he said footballing reasons. That's what I'm saying. Like it
Yeah.
can't be footballing reasons because you have enough defenders in a 3-4-2-1 to cover up for him. You have enough players who will run
Enough
around.
enough defenders. We're playing only defenders. You got like six center backs: Holding, Chambers, Mari, David Luiz, Mustafi, Socrates. What are we like? I mean, why do we need six center backs?
This is my
But the
question.
Ozil situation specifically, as you said, yeah, you had a very good point that keep highest key passes, right? Final balls was always Mesut Ozil's statistics, right? But at
Yeah.
the same time, you're talking about key passes before the final pass, right? Once Ozil left, that position was taken up by Sabios. If you check the stats, you'll see that now Sabios has one of the key statistics for like the second to last pass played for the final goal. Of
But
course, it's not as good as Mesut Ozil, but
that's
it was not that. It's not that different. It's like 4 or 5 goals here and there. So even if Ozil was playing, I would assume that we'd probably be a little better off, but not by much.
okay.
Ozil is not the player we have to depend on. We need someone new, like young, someone who's able to take the pressure, carry the ball out, like what Saul does for Atletico Madrid. But of course, a player of that quality is difficult to get for sure.
I don't
But
think
there were players available.
you guys
I
have
don't understand why didn't we go for Alcantara or Coutinho or someone like Order? Why didn't we just sign him? Or there's a lot of rumors about this new kid from Salzburg. I think
Dominic. Sussel.
Dominic.
I'm not even gonna try to pronounce his name.
It's a
Sussel.
tough name, but that kid has because I'm seeing him and he has some real talent in his feet. So obviously we need a new player. Ozil would not have been our answer. We should have had this answer done ready in the summer, but we didn't. And that is the typical Arsenal way. Oh, we'll only fix a problem when it's such a big problem that the fans are on the streets protesting. That is the Arsenal way.
Like I want to ask you about what's his name? Edu. He's the director of football now. And the reason I'm asking you is because from the last few transfer windows, my impression is that he has more control than other managers did of transfers. And him and Arteta got promoted to from first team coach to first team manager under him. So
Yeah.
they are responsible for bringing in players, or do you think it's still Kroenke who has the final say?
No, I think Kroenke has no say. He just doesn't care. He's just there, like oh, okay, my money is invested in Arsenal and it's growing, so I'm happy. But the thing about Arsenal is we used to have a very good scouting method. We had scouts everywhere. Believe it or not, I used to live in Malaysia and I actually met an Arsenal scout in Malaysia. He was scouting for Singapore, Indonesia, and Malaysia during that time. We had scouts all over the world. But now we don't have scouts anymore. We use agents. Now agents are going to push the veterans. They're going to push the players who are not going to go to other clubs, who are not able to go to other clubs. Other clubs aren't able to match their wages. And those are the players who are coming into Arsenal. The problem with that is we're missing out on some really talented youngsters. and we're signing old players like Willayan and David Luiz and
Yeah.
etc.
You think so? You think it's a do you think that's a decision by Edu then? Because you guys signed Cedric, a lot of like Portuguese speaking players. Cedric, you signed Pablo Mari, you signed a lot of like players who I haven't seen play yet for Arsenal. I think maybe
Yeah,
2 games, and that's a bit strange to me. Like instead of like wage wise, they're probably costing a lot. Instead of spending so much wage on all these veterans, isn't it better to get like two world class players who will maybe cost a little bit more than all of them together? Like, and then you use the rest of the spots by with youth team players or free agents and things like that. Like, don't you feel like they should have like
I
yeah,
like I feel like okay, you should have a very good relationship with agents because some agents have really good players, and if they become available, you want to get the first pick of the draft, right? So, for example, if you have really good relationship with someone like Mino Raiola, who's the agent for Pogba, Coutinho, etc., etc., he can get you really good talent for cheaper price, but you will be held hostage to him. That's also a thing. He's going to
yeah.
come up with a condition saying, "Hey, you're only allowed to work with me. You can't work with this agents." That's the normal. If you work with agents, you're gonna have to play by their rules. So you should always have like a group of resources like scouts and agents. But now we don't have scouts. We only have agents, and we only work with two agents. So we can only buy players they give to us, and that's a huge issue, no?
One of them's a what's his name, Kia, the guy who's David Lewis's agent and Willian's agent.
Yeah,
Um,
basically manages all of Brazil.
exactly. You've been linked with a lot of Brazilians, like young Brazilians, up and coming Brazilians. I've seen links with Arsenal. That could be a good thing. But I feel like there's been a lot of problems recruitment wise and in the board, even before Edu. Like the guy with Raul, like what happened there? Like, and there was that German guy. What's his name? Who said he doesn't want to work under the current environment.
Missing that.
Yeah, yeah. And
I've
then
even that. Yeah.
so there was all these changes. Like I feel like the only constant is you're right, Kroenke. Everyone else comes and goes. If you look at what's his name? The guy who went to AC Milan, the guy that Arsenal fans used to hate. This guy. What's his name? Gazidis, Ivan Gazidis.
Ivan Geddes.
AC Milan are top of the table with Zlatan as one of their main player, and they built like a decent young team. Maybe not world class, but like with good coaching, they are maybe overperforming, and they're maybe they'll win the league this year. But that's showing that even Gazidis with a lower budget at AC Milan, let's be honest, it has the capability of building a league winning team. So I feel like you're right. The constant is Kroenke. So what can be done about this?
Well, you look at the AC Milan, like they're playing in Italian league. Someone like Atalanta with almost no budget can come up and do something. But the Premier League is a whole other animal, right? In the Premier League, if you're not investing, you're falling back. It's as simple as that. If you're not investing, you're falling back. Like in a couple of seasons, I see teams like Everton, Leicester, who are already better than us, to be honest, like on the field. They're going to go ahead and like completely abolish us. Like we're going to keep going down and down and down and down until we're somewhere like Newcastle. To be honest, that's where I see us like that heading. And that's scary. And that is scary. And that's what I've been seeing for the last 10 years. But now it seems more rigid. I don't blame the managers because managers are coming and going. I see the same thing with Manchester United. Managers come and go. If your owners don't have a proper policy, a strategy, I mean, you look at Barcelona from they were amazing and now they're in chaos, right? Teams will come and go. It's the board that controls these things. Kroenke just doesn't care. All he has to do is invest money, but he won't do that because he doesn't need to. His wealth is increasing naturally without investing. Arsenal used to be a billion. He bought Arsenal for about, I think he spent like $300 million. Now it's worth close to 3 billion.
Yeah.
Um, he hasn't spent a single dollar out of pocket. Not a single dollar out of pocket. It's
Arsenal,
crazy.
they're the second richest club in England, right after Manchester United.
Yeah.
Like, so, I mean, for the
And
second
not to
richest
spend
club,
that.
I mean, that has to. I mean, even if you're owner, that has to hurt you, right? Looking at the table, 10 games gone, you're 14th. You're the second richest club. You're in a good place in London. You're in London, for God's sake, and like that's like I just find that so bemusing that it's not good strategy as a business person, don't you think? Like that doesn't make sense. Like if you're winning, look at Liverpool. If you're winning stuff without having to maybe spend a little bit extra than what perhaps your allowance or dipping into your pocket a little bit, not too much. They're competing. They're competing, and they're not. It's not like they're spending like City. They're they're competing every year, and they're I feel like they whenever they need a player, they buy the player. It's like the football first mentality, and he's American, and so why is Liverpool
Well,
successful? No, Arsenal aren't. Is he like? I don't see him as one of those who I'm very passionate about football kind of owners. I feel like he's a sports owner. He owns other stuff as well, but he seems like a competent owner who knows how to own a sports team, how to run a sports team, because you can't just yeah.
yeah, I mean he owns the Rams, he owns the Nuggets, and then he also has Arsenal. So the Rams are doing great, but then he has a reputation like the Rams fan don't like Kroenke because he took their stadium out and pushed it into Las Vegas.
Well,
Or
lost.
LA. But anyways, he just picked the stadium and put it in a different state, and they didn't like the fans. They were like, "What are you doing? You know, like this is our home," and he just took it away. So he's a very business first mentality. He doesn't care about the sports as much. But the Rams then went on to go to the playoff. I think they were the champions, or I think they were in the finals. I'm
They
not really
finished
sure.
runner up, I think. Yeah, they finished
And
second.
then second, okay. And then an Arsenal here, he never comes to watch the games because he doesn't have to. As I said, he invested maybe like a 200 or something $1 million, and now he's seeing it grew all the way to 3 billion. He doesn't have to invest. He brought back all the shares. So now Arsenal is privately owned, which means he doesn't even have to release his financial papers anymore. So I mean he's in control. Like he's 100% owner of Arsenal. He can do whatever he wants, whenever he wants. We are just hostages at this point, to be honest.
So so from his perspective, Arsenal are just, let's say, Arsenal are the kind of team that he wants to keep, let's say, in the top seven at least, right? Because brand value will obviously decrease if Arsenal are below top six, right? Don't you think?
Well, that's the thing. It didn't. So when we were at the top, and now there's no comparison between the Invincibles and the Arsenal of now. There's just no comparing them, right?
Footballing
But
wise,
our value has still gone up like 3 4 times.
yeah.
So he's saying that, okay, you know what, that means people don't actually have to win trophies to earn money out of football. So that's how Kroenke sees it. He sees that like, okay, you know what, it doesn't matter if Arsenal win or in the Champions League, Europa League, they're in the top 10, it doesn't matter. So he's just playing his fool like, okay, we'll do whatever we can. And that is a big problem because if we don't invest, we don't have cash to spend. So someone like Nico Pepe, who we bought for 70 million, but we're paying Lily in four different installments in 4 years because we don't have the cash. If we were to pay him in one bulk amount, we probably pay somewhere around 40 to 50 million for Nico Pepe. But we ended up dishing out 70 something million because we can't pay it in one go. You understand? And that's the same problem we're going to have with every player we try to buy, every player we go for, because our owner will not give us cash. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is a big concern. Liverpool are run similarly, like they bought Jota in installments, but I feel like somehow maybe they lucked out with Klopp, but somehow they've really done so well, and they don't look like stopping. And as long as they have Klopp,
Yeah.
they're in good hands. And their scouting is top class. No
Top
matter
class,
what,
right?
yeah, their scouting is top. Every player they get, they hardly have flops, and that's
No,
amazing.
but they
That's
do,
great.
right? Like for example, like they bought Minamito, but would you call him a flop or a hit? He does it. He's playing. He's not playing. They
Yeah,
bought Shakiri. Do you remember?
but
He
they
played
bought
a
him.
few games.
They bought him for so cheap that you don't even count them. They're like,
Yeah,
but that's clever
I
business.
think that's that-
They added a squad player who's worth who can act like Shakiri when they were winning the league title. He was useful. Came off the bench against
yeah.
Manchester United in that one game. He had those moments, right? So I feel like he is useful. But yeah, man, I feel like look at the squad depth they have now. Like you said, Minamino, Shakiri, they don't even play, and they're youth
Yeah.
players. So like
But that's the thing, like when you have those games when their best players like Mane, Salah, Firmino are not playing that well or are injured, and then these youngsters come in like they're hungry to prove themselves, like Origi, right? When he pulled Liverpool out from that Barcelona tie last year, I was having dinner. I threw my dish. I was like, "What am I watching here?" I was like, "It's crazy."
yeah,
This guy, we used to make fun of him,
yeah,
and he
exactly.
just destroyed.
It was him. It was Ronaldo. It was Henderson. It was the whole. It was a
Uh,
team effort. Like they had like Salah missing in that game. I think they had like one or two huge.
Firmino and Salah were both out. It was just I think Mane was playing. Oh, or maybe Mane was injured as well. I don't remember. Alexander Arnold was one of the best players on that night. He basically robbed Barcelona.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
that's the thing. Whenever he has the top players missing, these youngsters like Jota and all that, they come in and they perform like extraordinary players, and I don't know how any other team can replicate that.
I have to ask you a difficult question though. I've seen Arsenal's next five fixtures, and the only one fixture that's easily winnable is Burnley. I believe it's Spurs, Leicester, Everton. There's a lot of tough fixtures coming up for Arsenal in the next five games. If Now it's a big if. If Arteta don't get enough points, do you think his job will be under pressure? Like, what is the level? Like, what position does he have to be to for you to say that he's under pressure or he is?
To be honest, don't you think Arteta is already under pressure though? Like, there's a lot of chatter going on social media, on interview boards, and
You
even
think that he's
a lot of
already
questions by the journalists.
he's under the microscope? So a few bad results and
Under
he's
the market.
back.
The thing is, it's been a few bad results already. The only games we're doing well are the Europa League games, where we're playing teams like Dunkirk and Mold. So when we win those games, they don't actually matter, because if we are pitted against a top team in the next round, we will get destroyed by them. That is for sure. We come to the Premier League thinking, oh, we just won 3-0 against Dunkirk or against Mold. Even teams like Rapid Vienna, we conceded first and then we scored 2 goals. Rapid Vienna is not a good, is not a Premier League level team. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if we're suffering against those teams, we're going to suffer against any team. And the Premier League is where we should be focusing on, right? And we can see how bad Arsenal is right now. So a few bad matches, if we drop down even further in the league, yeah, sure. I would say at some point we have to make that decision that, okay, maybe Arteta isn't the right fit, get someone else. It'll motivate the team temporarily, will play better, and then again that manager will go, we'll bring another manager next year. I think that's the sort of circle we're looking at
So
pretty soon.
you're just saying it's a repetitive cycle basically,
Yep.
which is frustrating. I'm sure for Arsenal
It is
fans.
very frustrating.
Like,
I think the way out of this,
has he been back? Do you think he's been backed?
no, not at all. We got Thomas Partey, which is a
Yeah.
great buy. Then we got Willian, he's a good squad player to have. I would definitely keep Willian as a squad player. But these are not the fixes we desperately needed. We lacked creativity. We didn't have one cam. This gap is as open as I don't know how to explain this. I mean, it's clear as daylight. Why didn't we get a cam? What were we waiting for? Are we waiting to get relegated so that fans are on the streets breaking cars and then the owner starts investing? Is that the
What's it
solution
gonna
that the
take?
owners
That's
are
what I'm
looking for?
asking. You think that's what's going to take for Arsenal to, because it's not good business, like you said, to be to be so lower down the table. Even if your value will inevitably, if you keep going down, your value as a club will go down. That's it happens in business. Maybe it's a longer term thing. Maybe it takes 10, 20 years, let's say. So the decline might be slow, but it'll be a small decline and
So,
a painful decline. So I feel like he has to spend eventually. He has, like, it's not as if he's spending though. It's the way they spend. Like 72 million on Pepe is a lot of money. If you give that to Klopp, I'm sure he will kind of figure out how to buy players, where to go,
exactly.
and like I'm just so confused as to how Arsenal are run, and it's very very. I feel sad for Arteta, and I feel like he is under pressure. And can you imagine if he loses to Spurs next week, and Spurs are top of the table, and Arsenal are almost in the relegate like that? Can you imagine the fans, the reaction?
But that, it's not Arteta's fault that Tottenham is up there. It's the board's fault that let us triple down year after year. We saw Tottenham was like, okay, in 2006-7 we beat them like 5-3. Was a very close game. One of the journalists asked Arsene Wenger that, are you scared that Tottenham is going to catch us, catch Arsenal? And Arsene Wenger said that, okay, let him go 48 matches unbeaten first. You know what I mean? Like, we didn't even consider them as a team that's going to come up and take over. We had to celebrate Tottenham Day, which is the day
Yeah.
we confirmed that Arsenal is over Tottenham. And now it's been, I don't remember when was the last time we were above Tottenham. You
I
know,
feel like even
so
Spurs, they don't have money, but they're well run.
yeah, it's a well-run club. I mean, you have to spend some money for sure,
Yeah.
but you got to make sure that you fill up the holes. At Arsenal, the holes are always clear, but the only people who don't see it is the board. For some reason, as you said, like those years when we looked at the team, we were like, oh, you just need one goalkeeper, you just need one CDM, you just need a center back, you just need this, you just need that. Never. They would never go for those players. Instead, they would keep buying the same players over and over. 6 center backs, Six center backs, and you're not selling anybody. The only players we sold in the last few years for good money were Alexander Chamberlain and Iwobi for 40 million each.
That's
We can't
actually
even
good.
sell players.
Like they're
That's
probably not
very
worth
good money.
it. That's good selling.
They're probably not worth.
I'm being kind. They're probably worth less.
Exactly. Like, why did it take us 7 years to realize, hey, Theo Walcott is not going to be a good player for us? Why did it take us 7 years to realize that Ramsey is an average sort of player? We always give our players years after years to prove themselves, and then finally we realize that, hey, you know what, he's old, he's not going to work out, let's find somebody else. It's been like this for like last 2 decades. It's always going to be like this as long as Kroenke is up there, because we're just putting band-aids on our injuries instead of actually fixing them.
Hmm.
And I don't know, I'm frustrated. I am really frustrated. I saw some hope in the beginning of the season because I saw that, okay, Arteta is trying to
You were
bring
so
something
hopeful.
new.
You said
I am.
Arsenal will finish above Chelsea. I fell off the chair. I'm like, how is that gonna happen, man? You can get to a level. Let's say, like, if you didn't have Europa League, let's say, and you were playing the same 11 and you drill them, you can get somewhere like that. We've seen Leicester do that, like challenge for
Mhm.
the top four places. Even though Leicester won the league, but I was like, that can't be like that can't like it's not gonna happen, and it's actually happened earlier
I
than
was
I
I was
thought.
I wasn't betting on Arsenal. I was betting against Chelsea. So I wasn't thinking Arsenal would go above Chelsea. I was just thinking Chelsea would flop and go below Arsenal. That was my hope. But at the same time, like, what I like about Chelsea's transfer is that they bought in a bunch of young players of the similar age, right? So if Werner goes ahead and scores 20 goals, Kai is going to think, hey, I need to assist at least 10 to 15 goals. Otherwise, he's just going to, I'm going to be left behind. So that creates that competition within the squad. At Arsenal, I just don't feel that players have that sort of motivation. The only player who had that was Sanchez, and we said goodbye to him like years ago. So I
Yeah,
don't know.
there's a clear lack of motivation. I feel like I don't know why, which is strange. Everything was going so well. Yeah, I know it's Kroenke, but Arteta. It felt like Arteta had control of the dressing room ever since that Ozil thing
Mhm.
happened. I just don't. Maybe it's a coincidence, but I feel like the form has completely dipped up. But I gotta ask you this, man. What is your verdict on Arsenal this season and on Mr. Mikel Arteta?
Well,
Where are they
to
gonna
be
finish?
honest, oh wow, that's a well, right now it doesn't look too good for sure, but I'm an optimist, sort of. So like the only thing we have is pride, right? So I want to believe.
That's what it's
I
come
want to
down
believe.
to.
I want to believe that my Arsenal will rise up from this. That we will climb back up. We will have a series of fixtures where we show our qualities and then go from there. I am praying to God every day that we buy a cam in January, that we get at least one or two players in the January transfer window so that we can keep competing. But honestly speaking, I see us some finishing somewhere between 6 to 8 position.
But speaking of Arteta, uh, I'm going to ask the question. Wait, but he attracted Partey, right? It was him. It was him. He's the reason Partey came to Arsenal, and also Gabriel, two very good players. And Gabriel is not even in his prime. He's still improving, which is amazing because he's only 22. So he
Yeah.
can attract players. So do you think they will not look at that? And do you think he won't be he will still be under pressure despite attracting big players because maybe the results aren't coming, but he is kind of identifying the pieces needed to improve Arsenal. Isn't that what
But
Arsenal need?
But that's the thing, like, is he attracting them or are the agents bringing them in? Because we signed Thomas Partey by breaking his what do you call him,
Release clause.
you know release clause, right? And look at how we did it. We did it on the final day, the final hour of the transfer window. We did it under Atletico Madrid's nose. I mean, we basically stole Atletico Madrid's player. Do you think Atletico Madrid will ever sell another player to Arsenal? I don't think so. They will try and look for chances to screw Arsenal over because that's the sort of things we do. We did the same thing with Arshavin when we pulled him out of Zenit St. Petersburg. Zenit will never sell another player to Arsenal. This is how the board works for some reason. Like, why don't we just pay the money we need and get the player and keep a good relationship? We can't. All right, fine. We stole a Thomas Partey, but it wasn't really Arteta who got him. Gabriel again came through an agent. He was not a high profile player, but thank God he came. He's performed amazingly well. But we need more of these in the, the higher up the field. We need a cam. someone who can do that. Arteta is
At least
it's the opposition who are showing us the gaps in the field, not actually Arteta, to be honest. I mean, the opposition teams are showing us where we lack players. Arteta has been it's very clear the sort of players we need. So I don't think that's a big consideration, to be honest.
like no, but at least Arteta is buying the right players, right? That's something. Maybe it's not him, but it's under his management, and I feel like they
Hmm.
should consider him. Speaking of Arteta, do you think he will still be at Arsenal, but come end of the season?
I hope so. To be honest, I like the guy. He's rigid. He's strong. I like his sense of football. Like initially, he had some good things going on. Things aren't working out, but I blame the players more than the manager. Sure, you can go for another circle. You can get a new manager, improve the performances, then wait until that manager dips, get another manager. But that's just, I mean, that's not sustainable. You know, so I do want to see Arteta staying, but I want to see this issue with the players solved. Like, what is why aren't if you're not motivated, if you don't want to play, say it. You know, like move to a different club. Like, find your place. You don't have to stay here.
Yeah.
But I honestly want to say I want to see Arteta stay. I want to see him get the players he needs. A cam, a striker, if a winger if we need one, a right back, whatever, and then start competing. But I want to see Arteta stay. To be honest, yeah.
Okay. All right. So you were saying Arsenal will finish 6-8, and Arteta will hopefully keep his job. Hey man, thanks for joining me, man. It was a really good talking to you. I love talking to you. This was a lot more what's the word, informative than I would have liked. It's like I thought it would be more about the players, but you're talking about the board. You're getting straight to the heart of the matter, and that's very good, man. Thank you, man, for joining me. From Borobees to the viewers, thank you for joining me. I'll see you guys very soon.
My pleasure.
Yeah, man. All right, man.
Bye.
Take care, man.